Thanks for joining us. And today we're going to talk about the Satguru in Kriya Yoga. So in yoga, they use the term Satguru. Sat meaning truth and Guru meaning remover of darkness. So when people use the term Guru, they often are referring just to a teacher. The term Guru in Sanskrit has a particular meaning, which means remover of darkness. So basically the idea that the student is enshrouded in a cloud of ignorance, if you will, and the one who helps the student remove that ignorance is the Guru, the teacher. And Sat, meaning truth, refers to the one Guru that a student has. And the idea is that students who follow a yogic path and are initiated in that path will have one teacher, not just for that particular lifetime, but for multiple lifetimes, as if that Guru, that teacher, could come and take and shepherd them and take care of them through multiple lifetimes. And this is something that is part of the religion of India. Sanatana Dharma is what they call it. The idea that the Guru will continuously, in successive lifetimes, will bestow their blessings, find the student, and then shepherd them through the path again and again. So there are a couple of things there. One is that you can only have one true teacher for your lifetime. Now, this idea causes a variety of challenges, one of which is that the teacher needs to be qualified enough to be able to teach the student through the lifetimes. Now, when you're teaching, this is not what you want. You don't want to always have more knowledge than your student. You want your student to outgrow your knowledge. If anything, a teacher is a stepping stone along the path of the student's progress. As a teacher, you're only expecting your students to learn what you teach them and nothing else, and never to surpass your knowledge. You are limiting the development of your student. This is a bad thing. Any teacher worth their salt who is responsible wants their students to surpass their knowledge. Just as if a parent wants their child to develop not just in the footsteps of the parent, but to exceed the parent's accomplishments, to go beyond what the parent was able to do, right? And they support their child to do that, to try and give them as much as they can, because they want to progress them farther than they were able to move. Similarly, as one is a teacher, right? You want your students to exceed your level of knowledge. And the reason for that is because there needs to be progress, right? If it was all about only learning particular techniques and never going beyond what those techniques were, we would be stuck at the same level, right? We don't want that in spiritual development. Spiritual development is very unique to individuals. We all have different backgrounds, right? We all have different challenges, different paths, and so on. So we've got different things we need to work on, and our unique process will bring out insights in particular areas that, if these are shared, can benefit others, right? So one who is inclined to be a true teacher is one who gives and shares their insights to help students of a variety of backgrounds, right? That's what a true teacher is about. It is not about being one who controls the student's progress, lords over them in a hierarchical relationship, and says, you must only have me because I have realized this certain level of spiritual development, and you are always under me, and you must always obey me, and you must always worship me. These kind of erroneous notions have crept into spirituality and are limitations for development, both of the student and the teacher. Now, the teacher is not static. Any teacher who is worth their salt is in a state of progress, a state of change. They haven't reached a final enlightenment. They are in a progress of developing, right? And so when I talk about enlightenment, I talk about enlightenment as a process rather than a final goal. It is not a final state. It does not exist. But the universe is in flux and things are progressing and developing. Similarly, on the spiritual side, we can progress and develop as well. And teachers who refuse to make any kind of progress are the ones who get stuck, and they're the ones who want to control their students, right? So the concept in an ideal world of Satguru, it's a beautiful romantic concept, right? But in reality, Everybody needs to develop. And so the idea of having only one teacher for your entire lifetime or successive incarnations, if you believe in that, is very, very limiting, right? So you want to progress as a student, you want the teacher to progress. And as well, with the student, there may be things that they need, right? They need instruction or guidance on that the teacher, who is supposedly the Satguru, cannot provide because they haven't developed in the same way. They don't have the same insights. They don't have the same experiences. They may not know how to answer the student's questions, right? And that is very legitimate as a teacher, right? That's okay. And so, but the idea that you need to control the student and they can only learn from you out of some kind of duty and respect is ridiculous, right? They need to develop in the way that they develop. So what does the teacher worth their salt provide? Everything they can to the student, hoping the student's going to be able to understand some things that are going to help them. What they want to do is the student to develop their skills so they can have internal development. They want the student to progress, their true spiritual progression. That is what the teacher does. The teacher is selfless because the teacher wants to inspire the student, to support the student, to help the student go around any kind of challenges, right? To help them navigate that process, right? To give them guidance, to give them support, but not to lord over them and say, you must follow me, right? Because I am your master. That is not the right way, okay? So the idea of the Satguru, right, as I say, I think it's a romanticized concept. Certainly there are some very high stature yogis within the Kriya Yoga path. We know this for sure. And we should be absolutely inspired by, the accomplishments of Lahiri Baba, of Panchanan Bhattacharya, of others, many, many, many others. So that we want to give respect, right? We want to treat with reverence the gifts that we get from teachers. But what we don't want to do is to worship them. I believe that Lahiri Baba said something along the lines of when there was a cellist student that wanted to take his picture, right? And he said, it's not really worth it. Like, don't do that, because what people are going to do later is that they're going to, instead of having an internal experience using their Kriya Pranayama and their Kriya Yoga practices to bring them inside and have a spiritual experience inside, they're going to worship my photograph, right? So he realized that that kind of reverence to the outward form, if you will, right, the sort of very formal part of a student-teacher relationship can be an impediment for students, right? And the teacher too, their status is being continuously affirmed by their students, and consequently they can get a bit of a big head, right? And we see there's many, many cases of gurus that do that, where they become these megalomaniacs, right? And and to the point where they're so divorced from reality, they think they have all these powers and this kind of stuff. There have been many cases as well where people have, abused their students, right? So this kind of guru worship, right, it can have a lot of downsides to it, right? I'm all for having respect and reverence, right? Treating, because the teacher doesn't have to give these things to the student, right? They're sharing, right? And so there has to be some kind of reciprocity in there, which is like respect or whatever it is. For me, if I see my students are trying to work on something, they're applying themselves, they're making progress, they have a little bit of challenge here and there, and I can help them through it, and then they get success and they're happy, right? Like, for me, that's gold, right? Like, it's more valuable than anything for me to see other people develop and progress, right? But I realize as well, I don't have all the answers for them, right? So they may have to get them from other sources as well, but I just provide what I can, right? So I think the idea of sort of a spiritual friend or spiritual elder is a little more of a relevant concept, because really what it is somebody who's sharing their experiences and insights from their own process, right? And then the other people, if they can package that in a way that somebody else can learn, right? And then they benefit, right? And they progress. And that's what you want as a teacher, right? You don't want people who are following you around and then telling you you're so great, right? That's like the dark side of spirituality, right? So at least a whole host of complications that we don't want, right? It's going to hold us back, the teacher and the student. So if you have any questions about this video, feel free to send me an email at info@modernkriya.com. Also check our website at modernkriya.com and our YouTube channel. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.